Welcome in. We got a great story for you today here on Legacy Beyond Wealth. I'm Ben George with Rob Shelton, founder of Axio Wealth Management. And I want to jump right into this, Rob, because you shared this story with me a little bit last week and got me thinking quite a bit. And I thought, and you thought this would be a great one to share here on the show.
Yeah, it really rattled me, quite honestly. I remember being on that call and then getting right off of it and just talking with some of the office staff there. And it just, I don't know if the right word is flabbergasted, but I've never had a call go that wrong with a CPA group before. And just had a new client that we brought on board probably within the last year. And he's a business owner getting really excited to be able to sell his business and really create that life of significance, that best life that he could for his family. A lot of hard work that went into getting it to this point, a lot of good negotiation that took place as well. So naturally, I reached out to the CPA firm that he works with and wanted to make sure we were aligned, that nothing kind of slipped through the cracks, and got talking with them. And, it wasn't just one CPA, it was a whole team of CPAs. And at the beginning, that got me really excited about the collaborative approach that we could have in the team atmosphere. But when I asked the question about what the projected sale would be from the business, the answer I got is, he's just going to owe 50%.
50%? That's a pretty crazy number.
It is. It is. In fact, anyone that knows how long-term capital gains tax works or selling a business, it's not quite that high. In fact, that's a pretty high estimate. And so, I asked him, can you walk me through how you got there? Because, the way I was running the numbers were a little bit different. And they just told me flat out that they're not going to walk me through the numbers and how they estimated it. And refused to give any explanation.
Well, I guess so much for that collaborative approach that you thought you were going to get when you went into it. But why would they refuse to explain it?
I can't quite get around it. And the more that I got talking to them, the more they just kept saying, trust us. And there was no transparency. And, it's kind of like that. We call it the Spidey sense. If you remember Spider-Man, and it kind of has this sense go off a little bit when someone says, just trust us. And there doesn't need to be any transparency or they can't explain it. Usually that means it's time to dig a little bit deeper. And so we kept digging a little bit more, and it became very clear that they didn't really understand how capital gains tax works. And instead of describing it, and they became kind of frustrated with the conversation and started to deflect and talk negative about the client, venting that he's always coming up with crazy ideas. He's a dreamer. He's difficult to work with and things of that nature. And I had to stop him and let them know, that's exactly what people hire professionals for, is to turn vision into precision. And, a lot of times we assume just because someone may have a designation behind them that they understand what's going on or that they're competent. But again, like I said, they just didn't really understand long-term capital gains treatment, which is pretty basic stuff for most tax professionals. And so, finding the right professional could make a big, big difference. I mean, the amount of money that we're talking about is multiple six figures in the miscalculation of what the tax would be. Now, they'd eventually get there because they told me, hey, best way for us to calculate us is just to put it into the software, which again shows me that it's just software that's really the basis of their business and not necessarily using their own intellect, if I could be that blunt, to be able to come up with creative strategies. But we didn't want to be reactive and just get to the end of the day of April and say, here's the tax that you owe. We're looking for strategies that could really be able to help save this client. So the one that really pays for it at the end, which is sad, is the business owner, the one that put their trust and confidence into the CPA group.
Yeah, that's a bit unsettling. I know, especially as a business owner that's put in that much time, effort, blood, sweat, tears to get to this point and be in a really good spot and really have a lot of hope and optimism about moving forward and the impact you can make on your family and charities and organizations that are important to you. And to have a little concern about, hey, am I getting the most out of this? Is everything going to be going the right way? Is, I'm sure, a little unsettling for people who hears that. So if anybody asks that question, hey, could this happen to me? What should they do if they're thinking that?
First and foremost, I think that's a great time when we go in and say, hey, maybe it's time to get a second opinion on the professionals you're working with. And when we sit down with individuals that go through our discovery process, that's one of the questions we ask them is how satisfied are they with their current professionals, and do they feel like they need a second opinion on any of those professionals? And 75% of the time, people are unhappy with at least one of the professionals that they're currently working with. And that's where we love to be able to have that collaborative approach. And so anyone that goes to that discovery meeting with us, we make sure that we get a time where we can get all the professionals in the room at the same time to be able to try to vet them out and make sure that we've got nothing but the best of the best professionals working together. If you're not working with us, one suggestion I'd have is see if you could even schedule all of the professionals to be in the same room at the same time and just start to see how they react to each other. Are they challenging each other in a healthy and respectful way? Or do you have people who are dodging questions and talking over each other and trying to sound the most important or flat out refuse to? And I think within the first 30 minutes, you'll be able to tell if you've got the right team or if you need some help assembling your dream team for you. And look, I don't want to throw shade and throw CPAs under the bus. What you're trying to do is fight for alignment for yourself. And what we're doing is fighting for alignment for our clients. You deserve professionals who can understand your vision. I think that's the real important part of it is understanding it, going through a discovery and knowing where you want to be able to go. And then they're rolling up their sleeves and say, let's help you get there. And they understand the mechanics and what it takes to be able to accomplish that mission. If you can imagine selling your business at some point down the road and all your professionals are in alignment, there's no surprises. All the strategies have been well thought out. That's what provides the financial freedom for you to really live that best life and not leaving it to someone who could be able to make a mistake and really cost you pretty substantial.
Are you ready to unlock the freedom to live your best life? Schedule your no-cost 60-minute discovery meeting with our team today. During this session, we'll take the time to understand your family story and financial dreams. Together, we'll craft a personalized roadmap designed to help you achieve your goals. Let's explore how we can unlock the freedom for you and your family to thrive. Just click the link in the description of today's show to get started.
And that's a unique approach. I'm sure there aren't a whole lot of places that will have that collaborative approach so early, Rob. And I'm even assuming you're going to learn a lot from that conversation first off, I think. And even if you decide, hey, Axio Wealth is not the best fit for me, you're still going to leave that conversation, that discovery call, knowing a lot more about where you stand.
Absolutely. And, I think a good portion of the time, people don't even know what questions to be able to ask to think about things. And as we ask questions to that discovery process, I can see it starting to create the wheels to turn a little bit and they start to have other questions that come up. And it's a good opportunity to just take an assessment of where things are at and where you want to be able to go. And so if you've got a business and you're looking at potentially selling at some point down the road or even passing it on to the next generation, because that's a whole nother podcast altogether that we'll have to do another episode another day. But you really want to make sure this is something, probably your biggest asset that you have. And you don't just want to leave it to chance. You want a team of professionals that's really there to help you gain the momentum to live that best life and have that business either sell or pass the next generation as the way you want it to.
Yeah, even if you feel like you're in a good spot, as you can see this story today helped explain, maybe that team that you're working with isn't exactly on the same page that you would hope to be with your financial advisor and just in general. So have the conversation. You can start by going to the link in the description down below. There's plenty of information there on how to get in touch with Rob. But AxioWM.com is the website. You'll learn a lot more about what they do, their collaborative approach, but make sure you take advantage of that discovery call. It's the best way to sit down and begin talking through some of these concerns you might have, asking questions, and hopefully learning more about kind of where you stand. But great story, Rob. I appreciate you taking us into that. We appreciate that firsthand account, and hopefully this will benefit some people.
Awesome. Thanks, Ben. Appreciate your time.